Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Johnson, a 24-year-old artist from Chicago trying to make a name for myself in the art world. Things haven't exactly been smooth lately, but I've got quite the story to share with you all. It started with a text from my cousin Mark. Hey cuz, how about spending the summer at my farm in Iowa? Might help get those creative juices flowing. I stared at my phone, glancing around my tiny, cluttered apartment full of half-finished canvases and overdue bills. Was this really the escape I needed? As if reading my mind, Mark followed up, "You still there, Sarah?" "Yeah, sorry, just thinking." "Actually, it sounds perfect. When can I come?" "Whenever you want. The sooner the better. We've got plenty of space." I looked around at my cramped studio one last time. "How about next week?" "Perfect. Can't wait to see you." I hung up and immediately called my mom to tell her the plan. Ever since the divorce, our relationship had been tense. "Iowa?" she said with a sneer. "What could you possibly find there?" "Inspiration, maybe. I need a break, Mom." "Well, don't come crying to me if it doesn't work out." "I won't, Mom. I've got this." I ended the call, feeling a strange mix of excitement and unease. A week later, I was driving down a dusty country road, surrounded by miles of endless cornfields. Eventually, Mark's farm came into view, like something out of a postcard, complete with a red barn and a white farmhouse. Mark was waiting outside, waving me in with that big, goofy smile of his. "Sarah, you made it." "Hey, Mark, thanks for letting me crash here." "Crash? Your family. Come on in, let's get you settled." The house was warm, cozy, and inviting. Mark's wife, Lisa, was in the kitchen, baking something that smelled amazing. "Sarah, this is my wife, Lisa," Mark said. Lisa wiped her hands on her apron, flashing me a bright smile before pulling me into a warm hug. "So glad you're here. Hope you like apple pie." "Who doesn't?" I laughed, feeling more at ease. As we sat around the kitchen table, Mark asked about my art. "Still chasing that dream, huh?" "I'm trying, but it's been tough lately. I guess you could say I've hit a block." "Well, you're in the right place. Nothing but peace and quiet around here. If you want, you can even help out around the farm. Might give you a fresh perspective." "I like that," I said, feeling hopeful for the first time in months. That night, as I unpacked in the guest room, I heard the rumble of a truck outside. Curiosity got the best of me, so I peeked out the window. A rugged-looking man was talking to Mark. The next morning, Mark introduced me to him. "Sarah, this is Tom, our farmhand. Tom, this is my cousin Sarah. She'll be with us for the summer." "Nice to meet you," Tom said, his expression unreadable. As the days passed, I started to settle into the slower rhythm of farm life. The fresh air and wide open spaces were exactly what I needed. I even started sketching again, inspired by the endless rolling fields and sunsets that stretched across the sky. One evening, as I was watching the sun dip below the horizon, Mark joined me on the porch. "So how are you liking it here so far?" he asked. "It's beautiful, Mark. Really, thanks for having me. Of course, Sarah, I was thinking, since you're staying the whole summer, maybe you could pitch in a little more." "Nothing too hard, just some extra chores here and there." "Sure, I'd be happy to help," I said, not realizing how much I'd regret those words. At first, the tasks were manageable, feeding the chickens, helping Lisa in the garden. But soon, Mark was waking me up at dawn to muck out the stables and fix broken fences. "Mark, this is getting to be a bit much," I said, frustration creeping into my voice. "I came here to focus on my art, remember. Art doesn't put food on the table, Sarah. You're eating our food, aren't you?" I bit my lip, trying to stay calm. "Of course, and I'm grateful, but..." But then Mark's patience snapped. "Quit complaining and get to work," he barked. Days blurred together in a haze of exhaustion. One morning, as I dragged myself to the kitchen, I noticed something strange. My phone wasn't where I left it. "Hey Lisa, have you seen my phone?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She avoided my eyes. "No, sorry. Maybe you left it in the barn." I searched everywhere, but it was gone. So were my car keys. Panic began to rise in my chest. I found Mark in the yard. "Mark, I can't find my phone or keys. I need to call my mom." He scoffed, not even looking at me. "What for? To complain? You're fine here." That's when I met Karen, Mark's mother. She'd arrived unannounced, eyeing me like I was some kind of parasite. "So this is the freeloader," she said, her voice thick with judgment. Mom, Mark said sharply, this is Sarah. She's helping out around the farm. Karen looked me up and down, unimpressed. Doesn't look like she's doing much helping to me. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Mark cut me off, his voice cold. Don't worry, Mom. I'll make sure she earns her keep. After that, everything got worse. If I didn't finish my chores to Mark's satisfaction, he'd withhold meals. You don't work, you don't eat. That's how it is here, he said, smiling like it was a joke. I tried to reason with him. Mark, this isn't right. I'm your cousin, not your slave. His eyes narrowed, and a dangerous edge crept into his voice. You ungrateful little, after everything we've done for you. I flinched, shocked by his anger. That's when Tom, the farmhand, stepped in. Boss, maybe you should ease up a bit, Tom said, his voice quiet but firm. Mark rounded on him, his face flushed with rage. Mind your own business, Tom, or you'll be looking for a new job. Tom backed off, but later when he found me alone, he whispered, I'm sorry, Sarah. Mark's done this before. What do you mean? Last summer, it was his nephew. Kid came to stay, ended up working himself to the bone. Left in the middle of the night. A chill ran down my spine. Why don't you say something? Tom looked away, his face clouded with regret. It's not that simple. Mark's got dirt on me. I can't afford to lose this job. I nodded, understanding but feeling more isolated than ever. One day, desperate to escape the relentless grind, I snuck out to the barn where I'd hidden my art supplies. Painting was my only refuge, but when I opened the door, I found my canvases slashed and my paint scattered across the floor. No, I whispered, dropping to my knees, tears blurring my vision. Oops, Mark's voice came from behind me, smug and taunting. Guess there was an accident in here. Shame. I turned to him, my voice breaking. Why are you doing this? Because you're here to work, not play with your little hobby. Now clean this mess up and get back to your chores. He muttered as he walked away, useless city girl. I stared at the ruined remnants of my art supplies, something inside me snapping. This wasn't about chores anymore. Mark was trying to break me. That night, as I lay in bed, muscles aching and stomach growling, I made a decision. I had to get out, no matter what. But how? With no phone, no car, and miles from the nearest town, I was trapped. The next morning, while lugging a heavy bucket of milk across the yard, I tripped over a root. The bucket slipped from my grasp, crashing to the ground. Milk splashed everywhere. You clumsy idiot. Mark's voice thundered behind me. I turned, stammering an apology, but his hand came out of nowhere. The slap was so hard, it knocked me off balance. I tasted blood. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I snuck out to find Tom. He was in the barn, startled when he saw me. Sarah, what are you doing out here? I need your help, Tom. I have to get out of here. His eyes widened in alarm. It's not safe. Mark will. I don't care what Mark will do. I can't stay here another day. Please. Tom was silent for a long moment before he finally nodded. All right, tomorrow night. I'll leave my truck unlocked. Keys will be under the floor mat. Thank you, I whispered, a flicker of hope kindling in my chest for the first time in months. The next night dragged on forever. I packed my few belongings into a small bag and waited for the house to fall silent. Hours ticked by. Just as I was reaching for the back door, a light flicked on in the kitchen. Who's there? Karen's voice called out. I ducked behind the couch, my heart pounding in my ears. I held my breath, praying she wouldn't investigate further. After an eternity, I heard her shuffle back upstairs, grumbling. Once the coast was clear, I slipped out into the cool night air. I sprinted across the yard to Tom's truck, my pulse racing. As I pulled out of the driveway, headlights suddenly blazed to life behind me. Mark's truck. He must have heard the engine, I muttered, slamming my foot on the gas. Mark was right behind me, honking and flashing his lights. Come on, I urged, pushing the old truck as fast as it would go. Up ahead, I spotted a sharp bend in the road with a small dirt path branching off. In a split-second decision, I cut the headlights and swerved onto the path. I heard Mark's truck roar past, continuing down the main road. I killed the engine and sat in the pitch-black silence, barely breathing. Minutes passed, but Mark didn't turn back. I had lost him. Hands shaking, I restarted the truck and drove slowly, carefully in the opposite direction from where Mark had gone. An hour later, the lights of a small town flickered in the distance, and tears of relief streamed down my face as I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner. I was free, battered, exhausted, and wearing nothing but torn work clothes. But I was free. My legs shook as I stepped out of the truck, each step feeling surreal after the nightmare I'd endured. I stumbled inside, the warmth of the diner contrasting sharply with the cold weight of my memories. The waitress took one look at me, her eyes widening, and without saying a word, she picked up the phone. The next thing I knew, I was being taken to a women's shelter. "You're safe now," a counselor named Anna told me softly. "Take all the time you need to heal." For days, I did nothing but sleep and cry. The trauma of what I'd lived through felt like an anchor dragging me down. But slowly, I started to feel a glimmer of strength return. When I finally felt ready, I called my mom. "Sarah, where have you been?" "I've been worried sick." Her voice cracked with emotion. "Mom, I need to tell you everything." I poured out my story, every horrific detail. When I finished, the silence on the other end of the line was thick with shock. Then, I heard her crying. "I'm so sorry, honey," she sobbed. "I should have been there for you. Can I come see you?" Our reunion was raw, filled with tears and long overdue healing. As I recovered, I found solace in art again. I started sketching, first as an escape, then as a way to process my pain. Anna noticed. "Have you thought about sharing your story through your art?" she asked one afternoon. That question ignited something inside me. I began pouring my experiences onto the pages of a graphic novel, each stroke of the pen both painful and cathartic. Months passed, and I posted a few pages online. To my surprise, they spread like wildfire. "Sarah, you've got to see this," Anna said one morning, showing me her tablet. My story had gone viral. "The police soon contacted me. We're opening an investigation into your cousin's farm," the detective said after our interview. Then Tom called. "Sarah, I saw your story online." His voice was shaky, but determined. I want to help. I've got evidence of what Mark's been doing." With Tom's testimony and the traction from my graphic novel, things escalated quickly. The farm was raided. What they found was worse than I imagined. Other victims, financial records, and proof of Mark's exploitation. Lisa, Mark's wife, left him, looking dazed and broken as she gave her statement to the police. Meanwhile, a publisher reached out about my graphic novel. "We want to publish your story, Sarah," they said. "It's powerful." I couldn't believe it. My art, born from such darkness, was becoming my salvation. Months later, I stood in a gallery in Chicago, surrounded by blown-up panels from my book. Friends, family, and strangers moved through the exhibit, many with tears in their eyes. My mom stood beside me, squeezing my hand. "I'm so proud of you, sweetie," she whispered. As I mingled with the crowd, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Tom. "Just heard, Mark's been sentenced. 15 years for labor trafficking and tax evasion. It's over, Sarah." As I locked up the gallery that night, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. My story was out there, maybe even helping others escape similar situations. Walking out into the cool Chicago night, I felt strong, unbreakable, ready for whatever life threw at me. Because now, I knew I could handle it. I was a survivor, an artist, and a voice for the voiceless. And no one, not Mark, not anyone, could ever take that away from me again. That's the end of my story, everyone. But now, I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have tried to help Lisa escape too, or was leaving her behind the right call? It's a tough situation. She enabled Mark's abuse, but she was also a victim. What would you have done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could help someone going through something similar. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share. It helps spread awareness about these hidden forms of abuse. If you want to hear more stories like mine, hit that subscribe button. Together, we can shine a light on these issues and help others find their strength. Thanks for listening.